Over 160 current and former lawmakers and world leaders have called for the release of WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. So right now, Julian Assange is facing extradition to the U.S. and is facing up to 175 years in prison. Now, this is a serious threat to press freedom because this is not just about Julian Assange. It's about what he's charged with. The U.S. is claiming espionage charges for Julian Assange simply publishing leaked information. So he had information leaked to him in 2010 and 2011 by Chelsea Manning, who helped to expose war crimes, including a U.S. helicopter attack that killed 2 journalists. All Julian Assange did was release that information, that vital information that Americans should be aware of. So by criminalizing that, you essentially criminalize investigative journalism. Many investigative investigative pieces rely on whistleblowers, rely on leaks. So by criminalizing the publishing of that information, you are criminalizing investigative journalism. Now, I'm going to get into an NBC article here that shockingly actually lays out the case fairly well. But first of all, this started with a open letter from Lawyers for Assange. This is an open letter meant for the UK Prime Minister. As NBC reports here, WikiLeaks' Julian Assange say current and former, release WikiLeaks' Julian Assange say current and former world leaders. Signatories of an open letter to Prime Minister Boris Johnson included the president of Argentina and 2 former presidents of Brazil. So this is more than 160 current and former world leaders, lawmakers, and diplomats have endorsed this call. The signatories of the open letter addressed to UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson and several government ministers included the president of Argentina and 2 former presidents of Brazil, Dilma Rousseff and Lula da Silva. Lula da Silva, an incredible former leader, former president in Brazil. He lifted tens of millions out of poverty. He was a working class president, lifted tens of millions out of poverty. One of the greatest leaders the world has, the modern world has ever seen. And here he is calling for the release of Julian Assange. More here on the case. So their argument is that it laid out several legal reasons why Assange shouldn't be extradited, including the claim that he wouldn't face a fair trial in the U.S., which of course is obvious, and that he would be, quote, quote, be exposed to torture or other cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment or punishment. His extradition would gravely endanger freedom of the press, the letter said. This demonstrates the growing opposition around the world to U.S. efforts to extradite and prosecute Assange and the political nature of this case, Assange's lawyer, Jennifer Robinson, told NBC News. So, to my shock, NBC actually did a fairly good job here breaking down this story, and it's something that they should also be concerned about. And to be fair, a lot of journalists have come out and said how dangerous, the dangerous precedent that this would set. So, look, of course, I always go to, is this actually going to do anything? Is he actually going to be released because of this letter? Unlikely. But it's important to do whatever we can. It's important that people in power, that people with a real following that have a track record of standing up for what is right, like Lula da Silva. It's important that people like that come out and take a stand and fight for his release. So I will look. I'm one guy. So sometimes there are stories I missed. Unfortunately, this is one of the stories that I really have not paid enough attention to, that I should be paying more attention to. So I'm going to try and follow this a little closer and give you any updates in the future on the state of this case.